Ay, yeah. Ay, ay.
Miracles come while we in the fight. Don't give up and hold him tight. You will have a visible battle scar, but never forget who you are and fight, fight, fight. Hello, and welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. I created Embracing the Fight to help normalize the conversation surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns. I started the conversation with letting you have an in-depth look into my life as I journeyed through thyroid cancer. And if you recall last week, I was kind of down because I was sitting here, listening to what the endocrinologist had to say about my reproductive plans. And then I even went, after I got off the podcast, to do some reading to understand more about radioactive iodine. And a lot of the sources and things I looked at, it didn't make me feel any better. It actually made me feel worse, because there was some type of solid state cancer that they say that you could potentially get in neighboring organs after you take radioactive iodine. However, I said I would speak to an oncologist concerning that, because I don't know exactly how reputable, that particular medical source is. And I said I would take some time to look it up on WebMD and see exactly, what they had to say about the effects after radioactive iodine. So one other thing that I want you to think about when it comes to your health is not just the things that, are really, really easy to spot, easy to see. It's those things that, take a moment to realize that there is something wrong. So let me give you an example. Let's say you stand up, and when you stand up, you feel, a slight bit of discomfort, right above your hip, right? You don't think anything about it. Then a month later, this pain starts to radiate down your leg. All right, you don't think anything about it because it's a one-off, type of thing. But then the next time it happens, it's almost debilitating. You almost fall. You feel the scream, coming to the back of your throat, but it never exits because you don't want to be embarrassed. So what happens when that starts to happen more often than not? Do you remember the first time that it happened? And did you realize that it could be an issue with your sciatic nerve? Well, I'm saying that because I noticed it one day and I was like, it's not, really, really too bad. But then when I went home to visit with my parents, I noticed, my dad was having a similar issue. And I realized that I'd had the issue before and that I should stretch and I should limber up that area, and it helps to reduce the sciatic nerve pain. So I was able to share with him some stretches and some exercises that he should do to help with that as well. So let's think about it. What are some things that we see every day that we don't necessarily, think anything about, or we don't change, how we move or what we do, because whatever it is, it seems really, really small. It seems kind of minuscule at the time. So what if you're brushing your teeth and you floss and you see just a little tinge of blood? You saying to yourself, oh, well, I don't floss every day. So if I don't floss every day, it's okay to see a little bit of blood because my gums have to get used to me, slicing them in half with this floss. Well, did you know that, a lot of mouth cancers and gingivitis and things of that nature, start off with just a little spot of blood? Now, I'm not saying that you just go nuts and think that that's what you have going on. I'm saying that if you see something like that, see a dentist. Don't wait until it gets to the point where you're flossing and a whole tooth falls out, or a piece of gum falls out, or you're trying to feel around because it's so numb in that area that the nerves are dead from whatever disease or whatever it is that you have going on in your mouth because you didn't take care of it, you should go to your dentist at least twice a year, once every 6 months, to get a deep cleaning, to get x-rays, to get an analysis of your mouth. A lot of people don't understand that they have bad breath, not because they don't brush their teeth, but because of what they have going on in their mouth. And also, if you go to a dentist and you find that you have bad breath and they're cleaning your teeth and they say, this isn't, coming from your mouth, your teeth, your tongue, your gums. This is something that is coming from, inside of you. So that means you need to take a step further and see a gastroenterologist. That's someone, who's going to be able to tell you about your digestive system and how everything is working and why you may or may not need something to correct it. I'm not exactly, an expert in that area, but if you have halitosis, there are things that they can do to help, relieve that. And I'm sure everyone around you will also thank you. Another thing that you need to think about, as we age, your sight changes. So when's the last time you actually went to an eye doctor? So I went to the eye doctor the other day and I was so disappointed because, I'm sitting there and every time she would flip, one of those little lenses, she would say, better one, better two. Okay, better two, better three, better three, better four. And if I went down, I was like, I must be doing good. She told me that my vision's gotten slightly worse. And I was like, well, I hadn't changed glasses in 10 years. So it's been quite some time. And the folks at work were kind of teasing me like, why in the world do you have on these like grandma, auntie glasses or whatever? I'm like, well, I'm actually, an auntie and I could be the age of a grandma. So I'm seeing just fine with them. But the problem was my night vision, had changed. I was having problems with seeing signs clearly. Now, when I'm in an area and I know, where I'm going, it's not a problem. But shoot, put me in the middle of nowhere, I'm lost. I cannot see. So now I have new glasses, new contacts, and my sight is much clearer. And I kept asking when I was there, I was like, is there a way that I don't have to wear glasses anymore? I was like, I was told previously that my cornea was too thin to do LASIK. I was like, but that's been, over 20 years. Surely technology, has changed enough to where, I can get something done to where I can see. And the response wasn't as good as I would expect it to be, because it was almost like some of the things that you'd have to do. It's almost like, having cataracts removed and having a lens put in, because she was basically saying if your cornea is too thin, you don't want to, run the risk of slicing part of it off and it being too thin and it caused, halos, blindness, all these other things. But then she was like, people do these cataract surgeries, all the time, and I could just have the lens replaced and that would help, with this astigmatism that I have. But then I'd have to wear reading glasses, so I still, have to wear glasses from time to time. Either way, I was just like, I don't know if I really want to do that either. But I promise, when I take my glasses out, everybody disappears. So, I mean, it'd be wonderful to be able to see, clearly again. I haven't been able to see clearly since I was in an accident when I was in high school. So I was 15 years old and it just hasn't been the same for me. Another thing that you should consider is your hearing. Now, sure, you got those folks that don't necessarily clean their ears as often, as they should. And you have some people that work in noisy environments and really don't wear the hearing protection like they should. And then you have those folks that love to play their loud music, or, some of us like to sit next to the drum set, the drum line at football games, or in church. We like to sit right up there, by the drums where it's the loudest, and we don't wear hearing protection. And after years and years and years of doing this, you might start noticing a light ringing in your ear. And what you need to do is go ahead and get that checked out before you experience permanent hearing loss. So with the type of company that I work with now, and I have worked with it for the past 21 years, they have a hearing conservation program where the first year that you work, they do a baseline to see what your hearing is like. And then after you're exposed to whatever noises are in that environment for a year, you go back and you do the testing. And they try to see if there's any change, from the baseline. And if it's worse, then they ask you, what type of hearing protection have you used? And if it's really, really, really bad, sometimes they'll make you retest to see, like, if you had a cold, or if the earmuffs didn't fit your head properly, or if you had some other issue, going on. They try to really see, what is the cause of this change in your hearing. And it's very important that you do it sooner than later, because once your hearing is gone, it's gone. Sure, they can give you a hearing aid to increase the volume, but the clarity and being able to tell the difference between voices when in a crowd, I'm not exactly sure, how well that part of it works. But I have a couple of folks that I know that wear hearing aids, and they explain that it is still kind of hard to hear, in big group settings, but their hearing is much better than it was without it. All right. So another thing that I want you all to think about is your skin. When you're out in the sun, sure, you always hear that people that are melanated don't, really have an issue with getting sunburn and skin cancers and things of that nature. That is a myth. I had skin cancer. It was a rare form of skin cancer, and it didn't come from sun exposure, but it was skin cancer nonetheless. So what I'm saying to you is, when you're out enjoying that summer sun, laying on the beach, or hanging out with your friends and family at a picnic, make sure you put on some form of sunscreen. And make sure you read it. Don't put on something that only has 30 SPF, and you're going to be outside for hours on end and it's extremely hot and UV rays are high that day. You need to get a better type of protection for you before you get home and hate that you did it, or should I say you hate that you didn't do it the right way. So another thing with your skin, you can tell if you're not properly hydrated because your skin will be dry. Sure, people get jokes about being ashy, but you realize that you're ashy because you're not hydrating yourself enough. It doesn't matter how much lotion you put on. If you're not getting enough water, if you're not getting enough nutrients, vitamins for your skin is going to be dry. It's going to reflect what's going on with you internally. So a lot of times when you do have skin disorders and skin issues, it's because of an underlying issue with something that you are not getting that your body needs. So I suggest that you would go see a dermatologist for this, or you could see an internal medicine doctor to run a battery of tests after they take blood, so they can tell you, kind of what you have going on. Because sometimes your skin can indicate kidney issues. Now, it's amazing how all of your systems are interconnected, and one can, throw up a flag and you're like, what in the world does that have to do with that? That's why it's very important to make sure that you go to the doctor on a regular basis. And whenever you go to the doctor, as I stated in the Know Your Numbers podcast, or Know Your Numbers episode, I should say, you should have a list of things when you go to the doctor. It's just like when you are ordering food, you're very particular about what you want to eat or what you want to get. So why wouldn't you be just as particular when it comes to your health? If you have questions, you have to ask them. If you're having problems, you have to state that. Because doctors are extremely smart, but they aren't clairvoyants. They cannot look in the future. They cannot look into you and know exactly what's going on if you don't have any issues or symptoms that you're telling them that you do have. So something else that you need to look at also is your nails. When's the last time you actually looked at your fingernails and your toenails. I don't mean, this right before you go to have a pedicure and manicure. I mean the actual health of your nails. Because if your nails are weak, like mine are, and I have a disorder as to why my nails, are weak. They literally grow down to my fingers. So I keep them cut really short because they don't grow, as straight and nice and hard. They're very, very brittle, very soft. I can literally peel them off. And I never, chewed my nails when I was little, none of that kind of stuff. They always just grew that way. But it's the indication that I need to get more calcium. And it's another indication that I need to get more vitamin D. And I've talked to my internal medicine doctor about it, and there are a few other things that she said that I need to do, but she never would have known to ask these things, because if you look at my nails, you see they're completely cut off. So there's no way she could look at me when I walk in the office and say, hey, the way that your nails grow, you need to do X, Y, and Z in order to get them to be healthy. So sometimes you have to give them some help, or should I say sometimes, all the time. You have to give them some help. You have to give them some clues in order for them to help you figure out what you have going on. And again, I say, no matter what, don't wait. Because the longer you wait, you're allowing whatever it is to just progress and go further down into your system, or you're allowing something that is lying dormant in you to change or take over, your immune system. And you don't want that to happen. You want to make sure that you are really looking at yourself each and every day, and you're saying, how do my teeth look? What about my eyes? What about my skin? Even your hair tells how you are, when it comes to your health. If your hair is thin, brittle, and falling out, are you getting enough vitamins? Or are you using too many chemicals in your hair? And if you are using too many chemicals, think about the impact that it's having on the skin that's on your hair, your skull, your brain. Imagine that. Because chemicals weren't necessarily designed to put in your hair, I think, if that's a good way, to say it. Because you can get chemical burns, and who wants to have chemical burns on their head? There are some natural products out there that contain henna that don't burn if you want to dye your hair. I decided to stop dyeing my hair maybe a year or so ago, because I had to come to grips with this aging thing. Because honestly, I've had gray hair since I was 15 years old, and I didn't have quite as much, but baby, now I have a whole halo, and it's salt and pepper, and I think it's beautiful. But I bet you're saying, well, if you think it's so beautiful, why you always have your hair braided? Because it's easy. I mean, I get up every morning at 3:30 in the morning, and I have to look presentable, and I have to wake myself up. So in between waking myself up and looking presentable, which one do you think gets priority? Waking myself up, because I have to drive an hour for work. And I also wear a hard hat at work. So any cute little style I get, if I get a silk press, or if I get any curls or anything like that, I end up coming out with a Frederick Douglass, because my hair is mashed under the hat, and then it gets hot, and then it's humid, and it's like, oof. So it's easier, for me to have my hair like this. But when I do take my braids out, or I do take out the crochet or whatever I have, my hair is long and it's very healthy, because I make sure that I shampoo, condition, massage my scalp with oils, and I also take vitamins and drink lots of water. So the health of my hair is a reflection of how I treat my body. Now, I know we're going to go through this whole conversation about, me trying to lose weight. And no, I do not eat the right things all the time, because sometimes I find myself, eating, I wouldn't say it's like emotional eating, it's more hormonal. Because when it's about to be, say, that time of the month, or when I'm trying to get my hormones under control, chocolate is my go-to thing. So imagine me running, a mile and then getting home, scarfing down one of those extra large Hershey's bars, not the king size, but the one that looks like it's the size of a small book. I'm eating those and it made me feel great, at the moment, but then I couldn't go back to sleep. I couldn't bring myself down because then I'm like, not really hyper, but I feel like I should be doing something. Like my brain is like clicking on all cylinders and it's taken away from the thoughts and the feelings that I was having about something that I was wishing and hoping for. And in order for me not to torture myself with those kinds of thoughts, I was starting to replace it with chocolate. But I had a good long conversation with a friend, and he basically shed some light on some things that, I was sitting there saying, now you know this stuff. Why are you acting like you don't know? Why are you doing this? Such thing as self-sabotage. And that is not what I'm trying to do. I want to lose weight. I want to be my very best self. And I want to continue to grow. So in order for me to do that, I have to continue to rely on God. I have to continue to pray and talk to Him, cast my cares on Him, and leave it there. Because I find myself honestly thinking about stuff that I have no control over. I mull over those things and then it's like, what do you do? And every time it's like, just leave it there. Because each time I've left something at His feet, He's taking care of it. But that stuff that I keep picking up and I put it down and pick it back up, put it down and pick it back up, He's not messing with that. Because I haven't fully given it to Him. And I'm sure you're saying, well, why not just give it to Him? It's hard. If it were that easy, then everybody would do it, right? Everybody would be living, these perfect lives. I'm just saying, y'all pray my strength in the Lord because it's hard. I mean, imagine having a career and doing life by yourself in a sense because you don't want to accept any and everything, and you're making mistakes like along the way, and then you start to wonder if the mistakes are why you are where you are, or if the mistakes are tests to see if you've decided to change your way of thinking and to follow what God has for you. So I'm starting to think, because I think it's the latter. Because some of the people that I'm meeting is like, it's the same person just wrapped in a different body. And it's like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. And it's like, how many times do I have to say that I don't want that? I don't want that. That it'll eventually go away? Is it that I'm being prepared for someone or something very specific? Or is my life designed to help others, just to continue to shine a light, regardless of what's going on in my personal life? That's a question you have to ask yourself. If you're listening to this podcast and you're wondering why your life feels like it's spiraling in a certain direction, have you let go of it? Have you given it to God? Or are you trying to move it, twist it, fix it every which way until you just can't think of another way to do it, and then you just let it fall? Letting it fall and giving it to God are two totally different things. You have to think about, what's truly important. You have to affirm what you believe. And then at the same time, you have to say, God, thy will be done. Because think about it. Every time you make a plan or every time you want to do something and you don't consult God first, guess whose plan is going to prevail? Not ours. He is. So all I'm saying is when you get to this point, like where I am, where I am thinking more, about my health, and I'm trying to change my mindset, and I am moving forward toward peace, grace, mercy, love, and the power that God has in me. If I'm getting closer and closer, to that, I have to be careful anyway of who is around me. Everyone isn't ready to receive your gift. They aren't ready to receive who you are. Some people will try to take up the lion's share of your time once they realize the anointing you have on your life. And then some people will see that and they'll mistake it for something else, and they'll just try to come and take. And because you're a giver, kind-hearted person by nature, then you're going to help. But at the same time, you start noticing that the majority of the people that are coming to you are that way. I found that to be true. That the more I helped, the more they took. And then when I became empty, none of them were around. And to this day, they still are not around. God is still here. God is still calling my name. And he is still loving me, protecting me, and bringing me back to the fold. Is that your story? If it is, I say be encouraged, because there is no place like home. And you know where home is. Think about it. Everyone always says home is where the heart is. And your heart is with God. Let your heart lead you. Because if God is in your heart, you will not be led astray. I realize that I don't read my word as much as I should. I'll just be honest. And I had a bit of time where after COVID, I've been watching, my church online. And I've been to church a couple of times after that, but I don't know. I was struggling to make myself go and be in the presence, other people seeking God's face, because I felt like I needed to be in quiet space, quiet covenant with him. And I would listen to the word on my TV. And then after I turned the TV off, I would pray, talk to God, and still feel like, something is missing, something is unsettled, something just doesn't feel right. And to this day, I'm still seeking and asking God for an answer. Sure, people have come to me and told me what they believe, is the reason I'm going through this season. But if God didn't tell me that they were supposed to come to me and tell me this, guess what? I don't receive that. God speaks to me, and I know when someone is coming to help me, and I know when someone is coming to harm me. So I really have to stand firm and pay attention to my surroundings when people are coming with those sorts of things. So with today's episode, you have to think about the physical side of you as well as the mental and the spiritual side of you. You are a whole person. You are a whole being. You are not pieces. You are not parts. You are whole. Now, if you feel like you're missing something, or if you feel like your life is in pieces, I know someone who can help put you back together and make you whole. And it's not some man, it's not some woman, it's not some group, it's God. Sure, you can go to therapy because God created therapy. He created everything. And he created these things to help us to navigate this life. But I'm saying, seek ye first the kingdom. Don't go into the world seeking the world. Because if you seek ye first the kingdom, all other things shall be added. So if you find yourself out trying to find something or someone or anything that's, going to fill a void temporarily, just know it's just that, a temporary fix. If you want something permanent, seek his face. That's what I'm definitely doing each and every day. Now, am I perfect with it? No. But every day, I strive to be better, to be stronger, to understand him more, to seek his face. And I'm just asking that you do the very same, that you seek his face. Work towards it. Press toward the mark. Don't give up. There's a great reward in the end. Thank you so much for taking the time out to listen to this episode of Embracing the Fight. This has been true warfare for the past few days for me. So I'm asking that you continually pray my strength in the Lord. And I ask that you reach out to me and you tell me about your stories. Just reach out at operations@diversitydesign.com. And I would love to have a conversation with you about this, because this podcast was created to help normalize that conversation. But you first have to be able to speak the word. You can't get help. You can't move forward if you don't speak it out loud. Have an amazing day.